फ्लडिंग ऑफ एनजीओज, फ्लडिंग ऑफ शेल्टर्स, थिंकिंग दैट ये शेल्टर्स का जॉब है सड़क से एक इंजर्ड एनिमल उठाना। किसी को भी कॉल कर देना किसी भी टाइम। आई गॉट कॉल्स एट 2 AM, मेरा डॉग मुझे काट रहा है, मुझे उसे अभी के अभी कहीं पे छोड़ना है।
अब सड़क से जो पपी उठाने की बात आती है वो एकदम सरासर एज अ रेस्क्यूअर फॉर 20 years it is wrong. You are just taking away a life from the dog just because you believe, or we as rescuers believe, that we are doing the right thing. Now, is it right by the dog? It's a very difficult question to answer.
I feed my home waste food out to a stray without checking whether they even need it or not.
अब आप मेरे बिहाफ पे जाके 25 कुत्तों को खाना खिलाएंगे तो आपकी मर्जी है। आप मुझसे बिना पूछे मुझे बता नहीं रहे, प्लस मैंने आपसे अग्रीमेंट नहीं किया।
So do you want to clarify that? Is there any money that the government is giving you to save an injured animal?
Hi everyone, my name is Adnan Khan and you're watching K9 Talks by K9 School. I'm so happy to announce that we're finally launching a podcast that will be focusing on conversations around dog training and behavior. We'll be hosting phenomenal guests from all over India who are specialists and legends in their industry. We'll also be talking about other different topics in the future, maybe feline behavior, animal communication, veterinary practices. So please keep watching. Tell us in the comments what kind of guests and topics that you would like in the next videos. Subscribe to our channel so that you never miss out on any videos, and share with as many friends who you think would love to watch our videos and conversations. Keep watching.
Hi guys, welcome to K9 Talks. My name is Adnan Khan. I'm the founder of K9 School. This is one of our podcasts that have been long awaited, and we will be doing this now quite regularly in various different topics and different languages. Different people from all walks of life will be coming in, joining us, talking about their journey. And one common topic that we'll always have in the beginning is all about dogs. That's why we call it K9 Talks. This is going to be the biggest conversation place about dogs in India. Stay tuned and keep watching and keep sharing this amongst your friends. This is going to be on K9 School India YouTube channel. We also have presence on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, where we'll be sharing smaller videos and snippets so you can share it across with your friends and bring them over to join our conversation. Contribute in the comments as much as you can, and also suggest what kind of different topics and different guest speakers that you would like for us to invite and continue this engaging conversation. To start with, today we have a very, very renowned rescuer, a good close friend of mine. She's been family to me for over a decade already. We have here Vidhi, who has been an ardent rescuer. She has now joined us full time. More on that later. But we're going to go straight to Vidhi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Adnan. Thank you for having me here.
So, before I start, I just want to give the viewers a little bit of introduction of how we know each other. And I'm going to take it straight to you, telling everyone about, your relation with dogs and your journey so far. So, Vidhi actually is responsible for giving me my second ever dog. Her name was Stella. We recently lost her. She lived a good long life of 10 years. Vidhi was, I knew of her because we were both rescuing, and she rescued a litter of Rottweilers along with an entire pack of 30 purebred pups who were being sold on the streets of Delhi outside of a dog show. And her and a few of her rescuer friends brought in a lot of these purebred puppies and started finding fosters, and she chose me as a trainer to foster 2-3 Rottweiler puppies and take care of them, train them for about a month, so that we're able to find good homes for them. And it just so happened I only had my one dog at the time. His name was Homer. That out of all the dogs that we fostered and rehomed and trained and got them placed, there was one dog who ended up selecting me and choosing me as a family, somehow traveling all over the place and coming right back to me by age 7 months. So a little about Stella before we move. So Stella actually was not just my second dog, but she helped me start my dog training school, which is K9 School, and also the founder of the foundation that we're running, which Vidhi is leading now, called K9 Healers Foundation. She was the first official therapy dog of North India, first professional to have worked with over 3,000 patients of special needs, autistic kids, people with different economic and domestic backgrounds. And she's also so far the only practicing Rottweiler while till the time she got retired. Now we have another Rottweiler named Okoye in K9 Healers, who's the second professional Rottweiler in India to be a therapy dog. So Stella's been a revolutionary dog to change the scene in India, and Vidhi was the one who got her to me. So that's been our relation. We've done a lot of rescues together. Now we train and work towards a common goal together. So straight at you, Vidhi. Now get going straight away and tell us your relation with dogs to as far back as you can think about, like your parents, and when do you last remember, loving dogs and finding connect? And let's start from there.
Right. Thank you for having me here first. I think the background is very simple. My parents are both animal lovers, dog lovers. My mother is a feeder. So I think, as far as I can remember, I always had a dog at home. My first dog was a German Shepherd called Pillu. And yeah, I think it's just been from from birth, because he came before me in the house. And since then, I've always had dogs. When I was 18, I think I started rescuing animals. When I was around 20 years old, I got my first dog, which was a rescue. It was a German Shepherd again. And the beauty of it is that I fought with my family to get that dog. Because, normally what happens is when a dog passes away, the family tends to not have that dog,
Yeah.
right? Another one. So that was a challenge we were facing in our house. बट हुआ क्या, वो बाई चांस मुझे एक और डॉग मिल गया, और मेरे एक दोस्त ने बोला कि जी मुझे इसको देना है, और वो हमारे फेसबुक पे रिफ्लेक्ट किया, एंड आई सेड कि यार आप मुझे ही दे दीजिए. तो काफ़ी लड़ाई करी और जो भी था, बिकॉज ही वॉज अ ईयर ओल्ड, तो आई हैड टू लाई टू माई पेरेंट्स एंड से कि भाई ये 7 महीने के हैं. But that was I think that was a turning point. Then on, I started rescuing, and I honestly don't remember how many dogs I've rescued. लेकिन काफ़ी चीज़ें ऐसी हुई हैं मेरे घर में कि जैसे होता ना, जैसे आपने स्टेला का बोला, शी इज़ द फर्स्ट ऑफ अ काइंड. सो हमारे जो रेस्क्यू सीन है उसमें भी माई मदर इज द फर्स्ट ऑफ अ काइंड.
Right.
So we actually have one alive dog. We have dogs who have suffered from muscular dystrophy because of inbreeding or wrong breeding. और ऐसे हैं जो 11 साल तक जिए हैं, जिनकी जिंदगी शायद 4 महीने होनी चाहिए थी. तो हाँ, मतलब रेस्क्यू का सिलसिला चलता रहता है, और हम कर रहे हैं रेस्क्यू. जब मौका मिलता है तो और कर लेते हैं. So that's how it all started, and I'm actually blessed to get this opportunity to do what I'm doing. And and it's been a lovely journey.
So you would say a lot of inspiration came from your mom, that auntie was rescuing and feeding dogs outside, and you kind of picked up from that I want to continue this legacy on. But just to put a number, just for the viewers to get motivated, just put a ballpark figure. How many rescue cases would you have been involved in, directly or indirectly?
बहुत मुश्किल है.
Is it in tens, hundreds?
नहीं, hundreds में तो होगा ही.
Definitely hundreds, touching 1,000 probably.
हाँ,
over.
मतलब आप एक बार जैसे दिल्ली, मतलब जहाँ पे दिल्ली में अगर आपने सड़क से डॉग्स उठाए रेस्क्यू करने के लिए, तो वही 8-9 का पैक हो जाता है.
Right.
So, and I have been doing it since I was 18, and now I'm towards, I should not be sharing this, but I'm towards late 30s.
Right.
तो अगर उसी हिसाब से देखा जाए तो 100, 150, 200 तो हो ही गए होंगे.
Definitely. So about in your 2 decades now, I also know personally, and I mean the viewers to also know that you've not only done it on individual capacity. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ आपने अपने घर के आसपास से अपना कोई dog उठाया, but you were for a very long period of time deeply involved with the NGOs,
Yes.
Professional rescuers,
Yes.
and I believe at some point you did take a few years of your career's direction into joining NGOs full time and leading them from the front, which we are building together now, one
Yes.
as well. So how did that happen, and why did you think that community involvement was necessary, and you were working very closely with a lot of big NGOs?
Right.
So tell us a bit about your journey, in the last 2 decades, how it's been.
Sure. So I have been in the corporate sector, and even in the corporate sector, I was always looking at opportunities where I could go and give back to the society, right? So a lot of these corporates that we work for, they do these funds for specific NGOs. तो हम लोग पैसा रेस करते थे. लेकिन हुआ क्या होता है कि जब आप अपने काम में बिजी हो जाते हैं, तो आप अगर जैसे आप डॉग्स के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, वो अपने पर्सनल लेवल पे कर रहे हैं, जब आपका ऑफिस आ जाता है तो आप वो कर नहीं पाते. तो क्या हुआ था, मुझे लगा कि यार मैंने करीबन आई थिंक आई वर्क फॉर अबाउट 10-11 years approximately, and then I said, let me do something around dogs which is into the policy segment. So I took a jump and I joined FIAPO, which is Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organization. एंड वो सिर्फ डॉग्स का नहीं था, उसमें गाय के बारे में भी था,
All animals.
मुर्गियों के बारे में भी था, लेकिन डॉग्स के लिए बहुत स्पेसिफिक था बिकॉज इट वाज क्लोजर टू माय हार्ट.
Right.
फिर क्या हुआ, थोड़े टाइम के बाद मुझे लगा यार अब एक इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ काम करना चाहिए बिकॉज बहुत चीज़ें ऐसी हैं ग्लोबली, जैसे ट्रेनिंग में भी होंगी जो इंडिया में अभी आ रही हैं.
Correct.
तो ग्लोबली भी बड़े सारे पॉलिसीज थे जो इंडिया में अभी इंट्रोड्यूस ही नहीं किए थे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल ग्लोबली इफ यू लुक एट हैविंग अ पेट, ट्रेनिंग इज मैंडेटरी इन सर्टन कंट्रीज. इंडिया में हम लोग नहीं करते.
Right.
तो वही रेस्क्यू में भी होता है. You have to have a certain kind of caliber.
Mhm.
You come from a certain kind of background,
Qualification.
soft skill, qualification. तो यहाँ पे वो नहीं है.
Obviously.
एक तो वो एलिमेंट हो गया. प्लस पॉलिसी मैटर्स में भी हम लोग अभी बहुत पीछे हैं. जैसे हमारे में जो चैलेंजेस हैं वो मतलब एनिमल अब्यूज को लेके ही देख लीजिए, जो हमारी पेनल्टी है वो कुछ नहीं है.
Exactly.
तो वो सब चेंज करना था ग्राउंड लेवल पे. इसीलिए मुझे लगा कि एक बार यहाँ पे भी करते हैं थोड़ा. जो मेरा कम्युनिकेशन का बैकग्राउंड है, जो मेरा स्टोरी का बैकग्राउंड है, जो मेरा इम्पैक्ट ड्रिवन चेंज का बैकग्राउंड है, वो लेकर आते हैं. सो दैट वाज द रीजन व्हाई आई जॉइंड HSI organizations like FIAPO, because my association with regular organizations which are into rescue rehabilitation shelters, that's anyways happening. But from a policy angle, it was important that I wanted to go there and be a part of the whole policy change.
Okay.
So that's where I started from.
Okay, great. And in terms of like the day-to-day on-ground rescue work,
Right.
how has the Indian rescue space, evolved, in the last 20 years, so
Right.
to speak, in your observation? What are things that weren't there when you started off,
Right.
which are there today? I understand that we still could be many years behind
Right.
from the best position to be at,
Right.
let's say for Finland or US or UK,
Right.
but we have improved. So what are those things which you
Right.
know, like which you can see today?
Right. So absolutely, I think one of the biggest thing has been the connection we have over social media. पहले क्या होता था, आपका जो WhatsApp है, जो आपका Facebook है या Instagram है, अभी रिसेंटली हुआ था कि somebody lost their dog with whatever the reason was from a vet clinic, and the gentleman was in Thailand.
Okay.
बहुत रिसेंट बात है, करीबन 1 महीना पुरानी बात है. और हम लोगों ने सर्कुलेट किया और हमसे वो इतना वायरल हो गया कि द डॉग वाज फाउंड,
Right.
बिकॉज an organization which is into animal welfare took it up and they started sharing the information. So absolutely, social media has been a brilliant way of connecting with people. जैसे अगर आपको भी कोई लिखेगा ना, आप भी रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं.
Absolutely.
वो पहले नहीं होता था.
Exactly.
पहले अदनान तक पहुंचना भी प्रॉब्लली थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट होता है कि जी पहले नंबर सोर्स करे, रीच आउट करे. अब कोई भी लिख देता है एंड लॉट ऑफ people like us we respond.
Exactly.
एटलीस्ट गाइडेंस तो है ना.
Definitely.
मतलब कि आपके पास ये 10 NGOs हैं जिनके पास आप जा सकते हैं. प्लस क्या हो गया, व्हाट्सएप से नेटवर्क बहुत स्ट्रांग हो गया है. So we have, for example, multiple groups of animal rescuers in South Delhi, in Delhi, in Jaipur. तो क्या होता है, वो इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर करते रहते हैं ऑन अ कांस्टेंट बेसिस. तो उससे भी वो नेटवर्क हो गया है स्ट्रांग. तो क्या होता है, इमीडिएटली आप जैसे कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन डालेंगे उस पर कुछ ना कुछ आपको रिस्पॉन्स, कोई गाइडेंस, कुछ ना कुछ जरूर आएगा.
Right.
सो दैट हैज मेड रेस्क्यूइंग अ लिटिल इजी. हालांकि अभी भी बहुत चीजें हैं जो हम चेंज कर सकते हैं, बट एटलीस्ट वो नेटवर्किंग वाज एक्चुअली द बेसिक चैलेंज. क्योंकि आपको पता ही नहीं था, रात को आपको 2 बजे अगर कोई डॉग मिलता, आप उसका क्या करेंगे.
Exactly.
तो एटलीस्ट ये है कि वो आप 2 बजे इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर करेंगे, आपको कोई ना कोई बोल देगा जी मेरे घर पे रख जाइए, या आप मुझे बता दीजिए, मैं आपका डॉग पिक करवा के इस NGO के पास ले जाऊंगा अगर आपके पास गाड़ी नहीं है. सो दैट हैज चेंज. ऑल्सो लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर कमिंग नाउ इन रेस्क्यूइंग आर यंग पीपल. सो एंड देयर इज दिस inert fire in them to make a change.
Obviously.
Which was not something which was there in my time.
Right.
Because everybody was like, yeah, हम अपना काम कर रहे हैं, ये एक्स्ट्रा काम हम नहीं कर सकते.
Yeah, so great point about social media, because in fact, like, I was, you could say, lucky enough to have started my career and got a lot of support from social media, people tagging me and referring me, and in the rescue space as well, because I use social media for uploading a lot of like training information and content, so people saw what I was doing,
Right.
and they were able to like tag me for various different rescues, and you saw that. So there was a big advantage that I saw of things like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube to enhance the network.
जी.
Exactly how you said that, if you were able to speak to your 4-5 friends, if someone's interested in a dog,
जी.
you now have an outreach of thousands of
बिल्कुल.
people with a dog for adoption.
बिल्कुल.
And if a dog needs support, now when you have a wider outreach, tons and tons of people can come in, and
बिल्कुल.
friends of friends, and
बिल्कुल.
in fact जिनको आप नहीं भी जानते हैं, out of pure sentiment they can come out.
बिल्कुल.
So I would say 80% social media has been an advantage for the rescue and adoption space. Now there are a few things I definitely want to point out which are
Yes.
tricky on the social media front, was that because social media is a validation tool, it's a personal image building tool, a lot of people have leveraged that or weaponized it. For example, 20 strays that you are feeding in the colony, I could go with a camera person and say कि वो मेरी
जी.
वीडियो बनाओ, मैं खाना दे रहा हूँ,
जी.
and I'm probably like picking them up so that I get some traction, so that
जी.
I get some exposure
बिल्कुल.
and some fame, some popularity. And उसमें मैंने देखा है that healthy puppies with a mother, they're
Right.
pretty happy out on the street.
Right.
But because of a social media post, I put them for adoption.
बिल्कुल.
I kind of like convince people for homes. I make reels out of them. So that
बिल्कुल.
was one, thing that I saw which definitely we could not regulate, unfortunately. एक और बड़ी problematic चीज़ मैंने देखी social media में, that you cannot verify if I am asking you for a donation
जी.
for a puppy on the street,
जी.
and you would give it to me on a basis of trust. So there
जी.
were some cases that really saddened me, where I
जी.
realized that people were funding their lifestyles all the way from day to day, like cafe and going out
Right.
on with friends and films and dates,
Right.
because people saw them as a rescuer, and they would put like injured puppies and unwell
जी.
puppies photos and videos
जी.
with their Paytm number in
जी.
the Facebook post,
बिल्कुल.
and people would Paytm them, and you don't even know
Right.
if that money is legitimately
True.
going towards the
True.
dog, or how much of it is actually required or not. So
True.
there was a lot of unregulated funding activity
जी.
basis of trust. But it's all about like humans' own ethics and values. उसमें हम ज़्यादा कुछ
बिल्कुल.
कर भी नहीं सकते.
बिल्कुल.
अगर सोशल मीडिया नहीं भी होता और मैं आपसे ट्रस्ट के बेसिस पे 20,000 ले जाता
बिल्कुल.
एक डॉग
जी.
को रेस्क्यू करने के लिए और नहीं
जी.
करता, तो it's about the same thing as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, all in all, I would say it was an advantage. However, some cross verification and deeper
जी.
involvement was definitely
जी.
yeah.
जी, तो I think Adnan, just to add 2 more points to that. One is I'll counter your point in a mostly not even counter. I think I'll support your point. देखिए, जो आप कह रहे हैं ना कि हम लोग सड़क से हेल्दी डॉग्स उठाते हैं, ये मेरा भी चैलेंज था. क्योंकि जब आप नए होते हैं ना, आपको एकदम जोश होता है कि अच्छा मुझे तो रेस्क्यू में अपना नाम करना है और मुझे रेस्क्यूअर बनना है, खाना खिलाना है. बट होता क्या है, एक समय के बाद ना देयर आर चेंजेस दैट यू सी. आपको रियलाइजेशन होता है जब आप एक्चुअली NGOs के अंदर जाके बैठते हैं, तो आपको दिखता है कि पपी सर्वाइव नहीं कर सकते. आप किसी भी फाउंडेशन के पास चले जाइए, एंड दैट इज़ वाई यू विल नोटिस दैट अ लॉट ऑफ एनिमल रेस्क्यू ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस डू नॉट टेक इन पपीज़, बिकॉज नो मैटर व्हाट दे डू, कितना भी वो बचा लें, इन्फेक्शन ज़रूर फैलेगा. और स्पेशली जैसे छोटे बच्चे होते हैं, उसी तरीके से अनवैक्सीनेटेड पपीज़ एंड इवन पपीज़ हु आर at who have started their vaccination are prone to catch these infections. तो एक तो ये बात हो गई. अब सड़क से जो पपी उठाने की बात आती है, वो एकदम सरासर एज अ रेस्क्यूअर फॉर 20 years इट इज़ रॉन्ग. आपने एक पपी अपनी माँ से अलग किया. अगर आपको लगता है कि उसके पास कोई ऐसी इंजरी है, जैसे ठीक है छोटा घाव आ गया, कोई काट लिया या छोटी मोटी चीज़ें हैं, आप उसको ऑन ग्राउंड ट्रीट कर सकते हैं. एफर्ट ज़्यादा है, लेकिन आपका एज अ रेस्क्यूअर फॉर गेटिंग दैट टैग, इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट यू डू इट ऑन ग्राउंड. कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है उसको उठा के आप घर में रखिए, क्योंकि देखिए अगर आप इंडीज़ की बात करें ना, इंडी एडॉप्शन कराना इतना मुश्किल है, टेम्परामेंट अलग है. ठीक है, हम लोग वो देख नहीं पाते कि बच्चे का टेम्परामेंट कैसा है. हम किसी भी घर में डाल देंगे, फिर क्या होता है, वो 4 महीने का हो जाएगा, फिर लोग कहते हैं अरे जी ये तो हमको सूट ही नहीं कर रहा. तो अब रेस्क्यूअर कहेगा जी हम क्या करें. अब आप उसको दोबारा सड़क पे डाल देंगे. अब वो जो 4 महीने का या 6 महीने का या 1 साल का इंडी डॉग है, वो कहाँ जाएगा. अब उसको सड़क पे रहना नहीं आता, उसको अपनी माँ के साथ रह के जो सोशलाइजिंग उसकी स्किल्स थी वो हट चुकी हैं. अब रेस्क्यूअर रख नहीं सकते, क्योंकि जी आपके पास खुद ही 2-2, 3-3 डॉग्स हैं. तो आप क्या करेंगे, उसको शेल्टर में घुसार देंगे. अब वो बेचारा एक जानवर जो 14 साल सड़क पे अच्छी ज़िंदगी जी सकता है,
खाना खाएगा, मज़े में रहेगा, घूमेगा फिरेगा, उसको आपने उठा के एक 4x4 के पिंजरे में डाल दिया, या तो आपने उसको उठा के एक बंद जगह पे डाल दिया, और अब आप चाहते हैं कि अच्छा वो खुश है। वो टेम्परामेंट आप उस यू आर जस्ट टेकिंग अवे अ लाइफ फ्रॉम द डॉग just because you believe, or we as rescuers believe, that we are doing the right thing. Now, is it right by the dog? It's a very difficult question to answer. एक तो ये बात हो गई ना। दूसरी बात, जो आप सोशल मीडिया चैलेंजेस हैं, देखिए वो तो हमारे में ही खामी है ना। उसमें तो अगर आप मेरे को तंग करेंगे तो मैं आपके बारे में इतनी लोगों में बातें फैलाऊंगी और आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा। तो आपसे जब 10 साल बाद या 5 साल बाद कोई मिलेगा, वो बोलेगा जी अबर अदनान, हमने तो आपके बारे में ये सुना था, और आप कहेंगे जी मुझे तो पता नहीं है, मैं तो ये बच्चे ही बचा रहा हूँ। तो वो चैलेंजेस हमारे में है, बिकॉज एंड दैट इज वेयर आई कम फ्रॉम, वेयर आई से दैट एज अ रेस्क्यूइंग कम्युनिटी वी नीड टू स्टार्ट गेटिंग टुगेदर, वन amongst ourselves, and secondly talk to people who are on the other side also, because हम अपने में ही करे जा रहे हैं। तो मतलब to kind of end this conversation on this particular point, rescuers need to change. The rescuing fraternity needs to start looking at themselves, asking the right questions, and they have to evolve. तो वो बहुत ज़रूरी है। और ये सड़क से आप हेल्दी पपीज़ ना ही उठाएं, चाहे आप आपको लग रहा है आप धर्म का काम कर रहे हैं और आप ये कहते हैं कि जी गाड़ी के नीचे आ जाते हैं, ये होता है, वो सब सीख जाएंगे वो पूरी जिंदगी। और जो गाड़ी के नीचे आएगा वो शायद कभी सीख ही नहीं पाएगा, ठीक है। तो मुझे इस पर बहुत फ्लैग मिलेगा, मैं अभी भी बता रहा हूँ, लेकिन ये सच्चाई है। तो आप किसी को बचा सकते हैं तो आपको सड़क पे बचाइए। अब बहुत मैसिव इंजरी है, आप शेल्टर में भेजिए, ठीक करिए और वापस सड़क पे छोड़ दीजिए।
Absolutely. ये बहुत ही बड़ी important चीज़ आपने कही है। In fact, I would say that you're absolutely correct. It could be taken as like, in many different controversial ways as well. So on that note, I also want to put in, some of my pointers. One point that, if first of all, that the rescue world is completely voluntary.
Right.
Nobody gets paid anything for it. We're always in losses for our compassion towards the animal. Absolutely. That we feel bad for an animal, so we go out of our way to do something.
True.
Now the second step to that is that there is the second layer of someone who's driving past an injured animal.
Ji.
And they are again like weaponizing social media by taking a photo of an injured animal and let's say sending it to a person who they know are bigger pet lovers. यार ये तो बहुत dogs में ही है, आपका है, मेरा एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं। So सबसे पहले फोटो वीडियो हमें चल जाएगी कि यार हमने इस लोकेशन पे ये इंजर्ड एनिमल देखा है, आप उसे जाके उठा लो। ये मेरा काम नहीं है, मैं तो बिजी हूँ, मैं कहीं और जा रहा हूँ। Secondly, flooding of NGOs, flooding of shelters, thinking that ये shelters का job है सड़क से एक injured animal उठाना। Similarly, ambulance, dog trainers, किसी को भी call कर देना किसी भी time। I've got calls at 2 AM, 3 AM that मेरा डॉग मुझे काट रहा है, मुझे उसे अभी के अभी कहीं पे छोड़ना है, आप आइए। एंड देन इफ द एम्बुलेंस सेज दैट इट कॉस्ट मनी फॉर फ्यूल, इफ अ शेल्टर सेज दैट इट कॉस्ट मनी फॉर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, इफ अ ट्रेनर सेज दैट इट कॉस्ट money to travel and working hours and everything. So what people who the people start patronizing that, how can you charge money for animals, how can you charge money for saving an animal?
True.
It's supposed to be your duty, it's supposed to be your job. So itna bada imposition that I've received on a day-to-day basis that I was so appalled to realize that I've left my job and my career to help people, and I charge by the hour to create new trainers or to consult people.
Right.
There are many people who say that मैं बाहर strays को खाना खिलाता हूँ, due to which I am not able to afford any training for my personal pet dog.
Right.
And you shouldn't be charging any money because I'm a rescuer and I feed and I take care of animals and everything. So it's very unethical for you to charge for your services for pets. And I've asked them that you're going to big brands to buy harnesses, to buy leashes, collars. You're paying a veterinarian. You're never going to a veterinarian saying treat my dog for free because I feed my home waste food out to a stray without checking whether they even need it or not.
Bilkul.
Right? And this is, I'm not going to cover the stray feeding, which has become overfeeding. That is a challenge.
Yes.
But people are assuming rescuers to be, for that being their job. Like they're probably getting money from the government. So do you want to clarify that? Is there any money that the government is giving you to save an injured animal?
Right.
at all? क्या आपको कहीं से भी ऐसा कोई मतलब जानवरों की हेल्प करने के लिए कोई पैसा मिलता है just to
Right.
get it for the audience? Do you want
No,
to clarify?
unfortunately, no. I would have been very rich if I could do that, because then I can take money by the dog,
Right.
right? And I think somebody told this to me long back, and it was a very senior rescue who said charity doesn't come for free, right? So, for example, when you are training, that's your job. That's not the charity that you're supposed to do, right? When I am working in the corporate sector, that's my job. Now, I haven't asked anybody to rescue on my behalf. Now, had I had asked that person to rescue on my behalf or to feed the dog on my behalf, I can still figure out a mutually agreeable, arrangement. बट ऐसे केस में ऐसे तो हो ही नहीं सकता ना. अब आप मेरे बिहाफ पे जाके 25 कुत्तों को खाना खिलाएंगे तो आपकी मर्जी है. आप मुझसे बिना पूछे, मुझे बता नहीं रहे, प्लस मैंने आपसे अग्रीमेंट नहीं किया, तो वो चल नहीं सकता. ये कोई लॉजिक नहीं बना, राइट? अब ऐसे तो, क्योंकि जैसे वेट्स के पास भी लोग जाते हैं कि देखिए जी ये देसी है. अगर वेट को लगता है कि मतलब मुझे थोड़ा कंसेशन देना पड़ेगा क्योंकि ये आदमी और ये लेडी या जो भी है अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते, बट दे वांट टू प्रोवाइड द बेस्ट सर्विसेज फॉर देयर एनिमल, देन द वेट शुड और कुड और मे. आई एम नॉट द डिसीजन मेकर, इट इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन द वेट. लेकिन अगर कोई BMW से उतर के बोलेगा कि जी मैंने देसी रखा है, आप इसको 25% डिस्काउंट दे दीजिए, तो ये तो बात गलत हो गई ना. तो ये हो नहीं सकता. तो आई डोंट थिंक यू शुड बी बेयरिंग द बर्डन ऑफ एनीबडी. What you are doing in your own capacity is enough for you. What you can do in your capacity is what you should do and what you might want to do. But I don't think this discount और free में काम उससे एक और चीज़ होती है. होता क्या है, जब आप बहुत डिस्काउंट देंगे ना तो लोग चाहेंगे और करें और करें और रेस्क्यू करें. तो इससे अच्छा है कि लोग वो 5 कुत्तों पे फोकस करें जिनको वो अच्छी तरह ध्यान रख सके, रादर देन वो 25 कुत्तों को देखे जिनका वो कुछ भी ध्यान ना रख सके. So that is what I would say.
That is how I usually respond as well, that most of my training companies' proceeds
Ji.
are also going towards feeding the homeless dogs that have been abandoned at my boarding,
Right.
or that I have ended up rescuing through different circumstances
Right.
in my life. So so there are no profits, the revenues immediately go.
Right.
And that is the rescue work that I'm doing on my account.
Absolutely.
And obviously, it pains me to have to justify to any individual what I would,
True.
let's say, contribute, but I feel that my let's say skill set
Right.
goes to teaching an entire shelter's staff,
Yes.
so that thousands of dogs that come through the lifetime of the shelter
Sure. Absolutely.
keep getting adopted more and more.
Absolutely.
So that is my charity, me
Absolutely.
providing my working hours to NGOs
Absolutely.
to teach them how to rehabilitate the
Yeah.
dog, how to get them adopted
Yeah.
properly, how to improve the standards of their
Right.
center, so that they're and this is something a day-to-day rescuer or a day-to-day, let's say, pet parent cannot provide. They can provide
Right.
with rice, they can provide with a Facebook post, they can provide with monetary donation,
Right.
but they cannot go ahead and counsel an entire team to
Right.
improve their performance by 2x or
Bilkul.
3x. So
Bilkul.
this is the kind of charity that I prefer to provide, instead of, let's say, a pet parent or a customer calling up and saying that I am rescuing outside, I'm a
Ji.
renowned rescuer, so
Ji.
my private pet dog requires that entitlement
Ji.
out there. So
Right.
that's obviously, a topic for another day. Now,
Ji.
what I wanted to also, bring light to, now that we're on the little bit of a unfortunate, side or the darker side of the
Yeah.
industry. So what do you think, in your, experience in your tenure of rescuing willingly without anybody putting you into it, what are the things that over the course of time, put you off, or
Right.
give you a negative feeling, or challenged you mentally and emotionally? Because this animal rescue space anyway is an emotionally taxing space.
Yes.
Dogs die.
Yeah.
We are trying to save a dying dog who nobody cares for.
Yeah.
Even if we save it, nobody will adopt it. So there's a lot of overall compounded darkness.
Ji.
But that aside, in the rescue space, like you said, people need to work together, and
Ji.
a lot of egos clash, a lot of minds, insecurities and challenges, and
Ji.
difficulties come into the picture. So what did you see that you kind of wanted to always do your own thing and not get too integrated into the core of
Right.
it, basically?
Right. So there are actually a couple of things. One is, I think the first and foremost thing is the rescuers need to come together. I think what happens is, after 20 years of rescue, I might just say, मैं तो senior हूँ, है ना, मतलब वो एक्चुअली कोई लॉजिक नहीं बनता और ऐसा होता है, बिकॉज आई टेंड टू बिलीव दैट आई नो एवरीथिंग, which is unfortunately not the case, right? Because even in my lifespan there will be dogs who have a different temperament, who probably I don't know how to handle, and I need to be open about that. I need to be open and accepting of other rescuers. दूसरा क्या होता है, पैसे की बहुत लड़ाई है, यू नो, जैसे आपने बोला कि कुछ लोग घर भी चला रहे हैं, अब हो सकता है, बट लेकिन क्या है, जो कम डोनेशन है ना, वो जो पैसा आता है, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट से तो कुछ हम लोग को मिलता नहीं है, लेकिन जो पैसा आता है ना, उसके इतने हकदार हैं कि वो पैसा कहीं गुम हो जाता है, और उसमें क्या होता है, वी डोंट वांट टू शेयर. सो अगर आप मुझे कोई किसी से कनेक्ट कराएंगे, मैं उनको पकड़ लूँगी कि हाँ जी अब तो इन्हीं से आएगा हर महीने, और अगर वो कहीं पर रुक गए तो ही विल हैव टू जस्टिफाई कि भाई आपने पैसे क्यों नहीं दिए इस बार. वो गलत है. एज अ रेस्क्यूअर अगर आप रेस्क्यू कर रहे हैं, एक तो आप फुल टाइम मत करिए, आप अपना नौकरी करिए, उसके बाद आपसे जितना बन पाता है उतना करिए. किसी ने नहीं बोला है आपको आप सब कुछ घर गृहस्थी छोड़ के कुत्ते उठाइए सड़क से, ठीक है. इसीलिए आपको नेटवर्क चाहिए, इसीलिए आप ज़्यादा लोगों से मिलें, इसलिए आप व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बनाएं जहाँ पे आप दूसरे को बोलें कि देखिए मैं दिल्ली से बाहर हूँ और मैं इतना ऐसे हेल्प कर सकता हूँ, आप बाकी की हेल्प कर दीजिए या फिर आप उठा लीजिए. लेट्स बेयर द कॉस्ट टुगेदर. वर्किंग टुगेदर इज द ओनली वे फॉरवर्ड. दीज challenges that we have within the community, you know, we badmouth each other, we talk very ill of each other, we talk about people selling dogs, we talk about, you know, people depending on money from people for taking care of their own personal needs, which could be true. I'm not saying it's not true.
Yeah, but accusations are always
Yes,
unfair.
the problem here is that we waste so much effort and time in bringing down the other person.
Yeah, on targeting people than rescuing the animal.
Exactly. तो मैंने ना एक मेरे साथ ये बहुत होता था एक्चुअली, वेयर आई वुड गेट अप इन द मॉर्निंग एट लाइक 2:33 AM. किसी ने फ़ोन किया, जी एक रॉटवाइलर पड़ा है सड़क पे, एक बस निकल गई, आके खुरच दो. तो मैंने वो भी किया है. देन आई रियलाइज दैट यू नो ये रोज़ नहीं हो सकता, एक दिन कर लिया, 2 दिन कर लिया, फिर आप लोगों के साथ यू विल हैव टू वर्क टुगेदर. एंड देन आई विल टेल देम दैट आप बता दीजिए और आप शेयर कर लीजिए. अगर कोई नहीं जाएगा देन आई विल गो, बट आई विल नॉट बी एट योर बैक एंड कॉल, राइट? बिकॉज देन दैट बिकेम अ प्रोसेस एवरी टाइम. तो यही छोटी मोटी चीज़ें एक साथ ही काम कर सकते हैं, नहीं तो बहुत कुत्ते हैं. एनीवेज देयर आर सो मेनी पीपल हु डिसलाइक डॉग्स, वेदर इट इज पेट और स्ट्रीट, Indian breed or imported breed, it doesn't matter. We already have so many challenges, you know, that we are fighting with others, so to say, that if we are not together in our own community, then we will never be successful. And unfortunately, you know, people are not realizing that.
Yeah, this is a very important point that you brought forward कि dog haters से ही हमें इतना बड़ा challenge है. Everyone who loves an animal,
Right.
they themselves have the biggest challenge from people who are against nature, who want to destroy nature or get rid of it.
जी.
So within dog lovers ही अगर 3000 different factions होंगे who are trying to
बिल्कुल.
fight with each other, that
बिल्कुल.
oh I'm pro leash, I'm against leash,
Right.
I'm pro crate, I'm
Yeah.
only indie, I'm only breed, I'm anti breed, then you know people won't even come together for a common goal of bringing up the pet, you
बिल्कुल.
know, pet's dignity and value and worth.
Yes.
And you know, ego clashes mein I've seen, like just like you said, ego clashes mein I've seen animals' lives being compromised. That if for example, if you and I have an ego clash and you are on site,
Yeah.
and a trainer for example is needed and I am available, तो मैं वहाँ जाऊँगा नहीं क्योंकि
हाँ.
ओ विधि is there, तो वो है तो
बिल्कुल.
हम नहीं जाएंगे.
बिल्कुल.
अगर हम गए तो Facebook पे मेरा नाम पहले आना
बिल्कुल.
चाहिए. And Facebook again, and I mean I'm picking up the bad side of it, that it became an aspect that करा तो मैंने, तो Facebook पे स्टोरी में मुझे टैग नहीं किया.
जी, जी.
So like, were you doing it to save that life, or
Yeah.
for that story it will die in 24
बिल्कुल.
hours?
बिल्कुल.
You saved a life, वो कहीं पे अडॉप्ट हो, उनकी जान बचे, वो 15 साल का ग्रेटिफिकेशन है.
बिल्कुल.
24 आवर के या 15 मिनट के ग्रेटिफिकेशन के लिए मनी अगेन, या बिग फैक्टर, मनी इज quite a prominent factor in human conflict, but now social media in itself has become one.
बिल्कुल.
यार इसमें who got more traction, who got more fame,
True.
and all of that. So also on that, like, you know, Vidhi, I was these were few points that were nagging me over my career. I've also had like a decade long journey
जी.
in professional side of things rescuing again I've been doing as far as I remember, and same my parents,
of course.
as we see probably both our families rescuing some dog
Yeah.
right now. So what I saw is 2-3 things that I decided started to have a perspective on. I wanted your perspective because you were more on the rescue side. I've seen all angles. I've seen trainers, I've
जी
interacted with breeders, I've worked on
जी.
understanding genetics
जी
and deploying security dogs and everything as well. So 2-3 points of propaganda. सबसे पहले तो ये adopt don't shop का जो एक wave आया था.
जी
I am pro adoption. So are
जी.
you. We have so many dogs adopted. We get them adopted. We have also adopted them.
जी
But pushing that narrative to people who don't know anything about dogs,
right
or shaming people around it, like if
Right.
somebody gets a dog for the first time from a breed, for example, or somebody who has had a litter,
right
or a very reputed international grade
Right.
breeder, their community around, because of this adopt don't shop being pushed by PETA and celebrities without
Right.
any conclusive like understanding of के होता क्या है ये,
जी
people in their social circles have been starting to get shamed about it,
right
that you got a breed young pup, you should have adopted one.
Right.
Secondly, in adopt don't shop, what I've seen is that rescuers and
Right.
NGOs are in a rush to force any dog to anyone.
right
Right, if you came to my shelter and you saw 10 dogs that
हाँ.
needed a home,
जी
and fabricate a very fake narrative कि this is the perfect dog for you, आपके साथ ये बहुत सही रहेगा, देखो this dog has chosen you,
जी
अरे ये आपके बिना मर रहा है, and then emotionally blackmailing कि मर ही जाएगा basically
हाँ.
अगर आप इसको उठाएंगे नहीं, लेके नहीं जाएंगे. So this shaming and pressurizing, what it has done is for trainers that it has placed wrong dog in wrong homes.
absolutely
Those people are not able to open up कि हमसे नहीं पल रहा, हमें काट रहा है,
हाँ.
हमारे घर पे प्रॉब्लम कर रहा है, क्योंकि एनजीओ भी कहेगा अरे आप कैसे लोग हो
जी.
and all of that, and then people around will say कि यार you couldn't adopt a dog
जी.
properly. So one, this adopt don't shop, that is this propaganda actually really helping the way that we are thinking about? Secondly, now there is this new propaganda which and I love the sentiment, we're actually practicing it on ground so we can talk about it,
जी
that there's this new sentiment of देसी लोग देसी dog,
Hmm.
which means कि अगर आप इंडियन हैं तो आप सिर्फ इंडियन ब्रीड पालिए. I understand the sentiment when it's coming from influential people and from celebrities, that if you can give a home, always prioritize an indie dog,
Right.
But here nobody's talking about the dark side, because अगर कोई बोले कि हमने इंडी अडॉप्ट किया और वो हमें काट रहा है या डर रहा है या भाग जाता है या घर पे किसी को थ्रेट है, तो people will shame them, right? So that's why I wanted to open up about this, that
yeah
forcing an indie dog into a wrong home
yeah yeah
as well is a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
That if and taking care, you have to respect indie as a breed as well,
absolutely
instead of flooding them in first opportunity places that you find, because indie is like raising a boxer or a Belgian Malinois.
right
You have to research, you have to train, you have to
Right.
exercise.
right
It doesn't end on the day that you got an indie home
True.
and you start
Yeah.
declaring that
Yeah.
you're a superhero, but you have to invest 2 years in
Effort.
training and raising them. And there are, I would say, over 70% of the indie dogs that have gotten adopted
yeah
are having challenges in homes right now. They're having aggression challenges, exercise training challenges.
right
2 cases that really hurt me were that indie dogs were forced to expats, and then they were exported in terms of adoption,
yes
and they had 2 biting incidents and they were euthanized
Euthanized,
abroad. So
Yeah.
all of the $10,000 that got spent into this abroad exporting indie dog industry,
yeah
we just sponsored a dog to be killed in the US,
Yeah.
to put it in one sentence.
बिल्कुल
Right? So what are your takes on that? I know I went long with the question.
No worries. Actually, there are very interesting aspects to this question. Let's talk about the behavior aspect first, which is what you rightly said, right? Every dog breed has a behavior pattern. Now, and this is something which I also shared पहले भी, कि आप हर कुत्ते को सड़क से उठा के घर में नहीं घुसा सकते, तो वो तो नहीं कर सकते और करना नहीं चाहिए. बेसिकली करने को तो कर रहे हैं लोग, लेकिन नहीं करना चाहिए. तो आपको मेरे पास 3 देसी हैं, and they go and get along very well with my human child. उसमें से 2 get along very well with other dogs, but एक नहीं चलता. लेकिन वो आपस में 3 बहुत अच्छे हैं. तो वो आपको अपने कुत्ते का बिहेवियर पैटर्न समझना पड़ेगा. आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि क्या आपके घर में इतनी अब कह सकते हैं कि जी जगह इंडीज को नहीं चाहिए होती, बट इंडीज को जगह चाहिए होती है जी, बिकॉज उनको भी एक्सरसाइज करनी पड़ती है, उनको भी आपको चलाना पड़ेगा, आधे घंटे की वॉक करानी पड़ेगी, तो वो आपको यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द टेम्परामेंट ऑफ योर डॉग, एंड इंडीज ऑल्सो हैव डिफरेंट टेम्परामेंट्स राइट विद इन द डॉग, विद इन दैट इंडी ब्रीड, तो आपको वो भी समझना पड़ेगा। ये हुई एक बात ना। और दूसरी बात ऑन द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ यू नो देसी लोग देसी डॉग, देखिए मेरे पास इंडीज है, फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट टाइम आई वॉज ऑल्सो टॉकिंग अबाउट अडॉप्टिंग इंडीज, लेकिन जिसको एक पर्टिकुलर ब्रीड चाहिए होगी या उसको अपने घर के हिसाब से उसको लगता है कि मैं एक घर में इस तरीके का कुत्ता लाऊं, जैसे मेरे घर में अगर लोगों को एस्थमा है तो एक पर्टिकुलर ब्रीड जो शॉर्ट हेयर डॉग है उसको मैं अगर एक इंडी विद लॉन्ग हेयर, से फॉर एग्जांपल, एंड आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट इंडी फ्रॉम अ लार्जर पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ ऑल इंडिया, तो हम एग्जैक्टली तो मेरे में तो भूटिया भी इंडी कहलाएगा, है ना, तो मैं उनको को नहीं जी भाई आप भूटिया रखिए, तो वो तो एस्थमा अटैक में ही चले जाएंगे। तो यू हैव टू first understand what is it that you want to portray in terms of when you say shop, when you say adopt indies. No, when you talk about desi log, desi dog. Now everybody talks about the desi dog, which is what you are getting in North India. ये बहुत North India centric है ना? Let's be very honest. Urban states. लेकिन आप देखिए अगर साउथ में आप इंडी देखेंगे तो बहुत सारी लोकल ब्रीड्स है, कन्नी हो गई, राजा पालम हो गई, उनका कोई हिसाब नहीं, वो those are also indies, but they are proper breeds.
Yeah, those are pure breeds, indigenous breeds.
Right? But they're indigenous, right? They're not on the road. Right. So you have to be very conscious of this particular line saying desi log or desi dog. Correct. Because आपको वही है, आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि आपका adoption कोई कुत्ते को harm तो नहीं कर रहा। See, ultimately it has to always be about the dog.
Well-being for the animal.
But exactly, whether it is your rescue, which means you have to keep your ego aside. और इट हैज़ टू बी अबाउट गेटिंग अ डॉग होम। अगर आप उसको वेजिटेरियन घर में खाना खा के पनीर पकोड़े खिला रहे हैं तो कोई मकसद नहीं है उसका, है ना। तो वो सब चीज़ें आपको बहुत सोच विचार करके करनी पड़ेगी। एंड नाउ कमिंग बैक टू योर क्वेश्चन अबाउट ब्रीड, नाउ एज अ रेस्क्यूअर वी स्क्रीम एंड शाउट अबाउट हैविंग ब्रीड्स। देयर वाज अ रीसेंट सो कॉल्ड बैन एंड देयर वाज अ स्टोरी अराउंड दैट। देखिए जिसको लेना है वो लेगा, उसको आप रोक नहीं सकते। हमारे घर में 2 लैब्राडोर आए हैं जो किसी शेल्टर में फेंके गए थे जब वो 2 महीने के थे। अब वो कैसे आए होंगे, क्योंकि वो वही 2000, 5000 का, 6000 का कुत्ता है जो सड़क पे मिलता है। अगर वही किसी ने महंगे पैसे देके खरीदा होता, जैसे अगर आप ऑडी खरीदेंगे और सेकेंड हैंड मारुति है, उसमें फर्क है। दे माइट have a little more, even if they're not sympathy, they don't have the sympathy or they don't care, but पैसे के लिए probably they'll say कि यार मैं इसका ज़्यादा ध्यान रखूंगा। तो आप किसी को रोक नहीं सकते। आप रूल्स बना लो, रेगुलेशन बना लो, the import or whatever you're saying, मतलब it will happen. Now what you probably need to figure out is that when you say that don't shop, or let's not talk about let's talk about adoption. How many people who are talking about adopt, don't shop are actually going to a rescue center and cleaning the rescue center? Let's talk about the ground realities, right? How many people who are into animal rescue space, so to say, are going to whatever shelter they have nearby? And there are numerous shelters. So if you tell me कि नहीं जी मेरे पास समय नहीं है, मैं Facebook पे है, whatever, आप जाके कितनी बार कुत्ते को सड़क पे आप बहुत शेल्टर अलाउ करते हैं कि आप उनके कुत्तों को लीश लगा के वॉक कराइए। आप पूछिए कौन करता है। तो हमारे में ही खोट है, हम रेस्क्यूअर्स में भी बहुत मैसिव खोट है। हम बहुत बड़ी बड़ी बातें करते हैं, लेकिन जब काम की बात आती है ना, तो हम एक वही फोटो लगाते हैं, उसके नीचे अकाउंट डिटेल्स लिखते हैं और हम रोते रहते हैं कि जी मतलब मेरे तो ऐसे होता है कि अच्छा हमने रेस्क्यू उठाया, कल मेरे पास पैसे नहीं होंगे इसको खाना, अरे नौकरी कर लो यार, इसको खाना रोक देंगे, अरे कल नौकरी कर लीजिए ना, नौकरी कर लीजिए, खाना करिए, पैसे आते हैं, बहुत बढ़िया।
मैसेजिंग फ्रॉम माय आईफोन 16 Pro।
बिल्कुल। तो you cannot see, India is very dynamic as a country. You cannot stop anybody from doing like what they want. Yes, there should be guidelines. Yes, there should be checks. There should be rules and regulations. Like I remember, you and I had a very very heated conversation once about this whole breeder and breeding, because I think what has happened is between you and me, because you come from that industry, you have seen the quality where people are putting the effort, ensuring that there is medical, ensuring that the dogs are not bred in a manner that is abusive or whatever. So again, abuse of animals should not happen.
Obviously.
Right now, that from you, if that's an ethical thing, now you come from that ethical background, XYZ might not,
Of course.
but if you are coming from that ethical background, why should you be stopped? Because there are others who will sell it unethically.
Correct.
So that chance or should be given to you, right? So that's where I would actually say that I don't think we can stop anybody. जिसको लेना है वो तो लेगा, हम लड़ सकते हैं, हम मोर्चे भी निकालते हैं, बट प्रॉब्लम ये है ना कि जिस चीजों पे हमें फोकस करना चाहिए, जैसे एनिमल अब्यूज और वो जो 50 रुपए की पेनल्टी हम रोते रहते हैं,
Correct.
वो फोकस नहीं
That's
है.
what we need to. RWAs and the strays
Yes.
attacking and everything.
We should be
need to come to-
focusing on training of animals. We should be focusing on ensuring really, really stringent penalties, really, really stringent jail time for animal abusers if they get caught and all. And we should be focusing on how to make the whole infrastructure so strong that we are able to take care of every dog, street dog, pet dog, breed, whatever. Now, to end, but I would definitely say that also people who are getting in dogs, there should be a check on the people,
Exactly.
right? मैं दिल्ली में अगर हस्की लेके आऊंगा, या तो मेरे पास उसको मेंटेन करना पहले तो बिल्कुल ही गलत है मेरे हिसाब से, ठीक है, लेकिन अगर मेरे पास इतना पैसा है कि मैं उसके साथ 3 बड़े बड़े AC लगा के उसको पूरा दिन रख सकूं, कि मतलब उसको ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस दे सकूं जो मे बी उसको मिलता हो, आई एम नॉट श्योर, व्हेन यू आर द बेटर गाइड, then do I have the qualification, do I have the caliber to manage that breed? That has to come from the pet owner's side. So there has to be a regulation of the pet owners. You need to make it mandatory to train dogs.
Exactly.
Right? Why should pet owners not be able to take their why are pet owners not able to take the dogs out in public?
Exactly.
काटते रहते हैं,
That's what.
हैंडल नहीं करना आता. तो आप अगर आप ब्रीडर को बोल रहे हैं कि जी, मतलब अगर आप ब्रीडर को बोल रहे हैं कि आप गलत हैं और आपको बैन करना चाहिए, तो आप पेट ओनर्स को भी बैन करिए ना.
It's a demand and supply thing. If there was no demand,
There will be no supply.
right? And if there was right education and information, so what is happening with these barriers and walls that have been created? That because the term breeder has become criminalized.
Yes.
The term breed is something that we can't talk about because everyone will come together and target the person's character or personality.
Right.
One big challenge that I saw is that in the rescue space, if you were all about indies, first of all, there is no documentation about indies' behavior, genetics,
True.
any such thing. या तो इतने इंडी लवर्स ने अभी तक पिछले 10 साल में टेराबाइट्स ऑफ डेटा कंट्रीब्यूट किया हो सोसाइटी को कि सब लोग को पता हो इंडीज को मैनेज कैसे करना है.
बिल्कुल.
Nobody is writing or contributing. We're just shaming. Nobody is neutering. Nobody is saving.
Right.
Then, because we have blocked people from talking about breeds, how is one supposed to, if there's a German Shepherd or a Labrador homeless in front of them, how are they supposed to manage them, rescue them, or rehabilitate them if they don't know anything about it?
True.
I had so many NGOs, so many rescuers calling me saying, I only know about indies. Now there's a bull mastiff. Can you handle it? I know. I saw a Rottweiler. So all pure breeds would end up coming to me कि हमें तो पता ही नहीं कैसे संभालना है.
जी.
On the other side of it, people who broke these barriers, like you, I would trust with any strong breed, German Shepherd, Labrador, Rottweiler, because you didn't see any race or breed, you just went in for it.
Right.
Another common friend of ours, Tandrali, I just
Yes.
want to bring that up, that over time she has discovered that she has a very good grasp of the breed that is Pitbull.
Right.
And the current wave is the over flooding of Pitbull abandonment
Yes.
is coming from the demand loop.
Yes.
Somebody wants it. They can't keep it, they dump it.
Yeah.
Then now there is somebody who's taken the responsibility that, okay,
Bilkul.
I will take charge of as many pit bulls as possible,
True.
for example. So we have been trying to help for their behavior, for their placement, for their adoption. Now, if she had that barrier in her head that no, it's a pure breed, so I'm hesitant because we can't help them. We can only help a certain, the only Indian dog.
जी.
Who's going to take care of them?
True. Very
right?
true.
Same for me, like because I got to learn, I spent my entire childhood learning about mastiffs, Rottweilers, pit bulls, shepherds, Belgian shepherds. Now there is no such breed that I feel hesitant in working
Bilkul.
with, because I didn't keep my barriers, and I am one of the few who's actually contributing about indie dog behavior and everything online.
Yes.
We're writing articles and blogs
Right.
so that the next generation, the next person reads how to handle strays, how
Right.
to rescue strays. That's the reason we're having this podcast
Yes.
here today as well. So moving on, I mean, these are lengthier conversations.
Yes,
We'd love
sure.
to have more people on the table
Sure.
contributing into it. Now I want to move to what Canine School is about. So a little bit about training, like how has your perspective on dog training
Right.
or the term dog trainers changed? Because I also started, it's been about 10 years for me. So let's say we met around 13, 14.
Right.
And at that point when I was coming in, the term trainers was also as criminalized as
Yeah.
the term breeders, for example. So how have you seen how have you seen that trajectory change, and is it helping? Like, can we use dog training to help animal rescue space if we work together? So
Right.
wanted your perspective on that.
So I think hats off to you, because I think you have been one of the pioneers in how we look at dog trainers. I'll be very honest to you, because I think you have changed the industry in a manner that somebody who's an MBA can actually become a dog trainer. So it's not getting shamed anymore. It's not like अरे तो कुत्ते चलाते हैं, है ना? So there is a lot of dignity now with this profession. So I think, and I've seen the growth that you have had. I've seen the immense, experience you have garnered over the years. So I think that's fantastic. I do believe there has been a lot of change, because now newer, younger, people who come from different professions want to get into this stream. And which really helps, because there is a kind of openness, right? So I think that has happened. Of course, there'll be like few bad apples here and there, which is, I think, in any profession, every profession. But overall, I think the responsibility aspect has also changed. So I also feel that now there are more dog trainers who are open to having conversations and understanding the needs of the pet parent and a dog, than just somebody who would come and teach your dog how to sit, say hello, or roll over, right? So that whole attitude shift has happened. So that's what I feel. I'm sorry, I forgot the second part
And
of
the
it.
second part is that, earlier dog trainers were again from the rescue space
Yes.
considered people cruel, who were abusive to the animal, who were
Yeah.
doing it for money,
Yeah.
who would do more harm to the animal than good. Now, over the years, do you feel that the kind of dog trainers that you're seeing that have increased, especially after COVID, people from all walks of life,
Yeah.
educated people, graduates, people with a cleaner soul, cleaner sense of ethics,
Yeah.
do you think that they can contribute
Yeah.
to the rescue space, to the animal shelter community, and how can we do that so that we can motivate dog trainers who are learning from me and from our school as well,
Right.
that in their free time, how can they reduce the population in the shelters, and
Right.
how can they like help the homeless, because and pro bono, for example, to improve their skill set as well.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's a fantastic idea. Let me kind of start there. I know that you have worked with Fendicos. You train their teams. And I'm sure that has created a lot of impact when it comes to handling of dogs, or even overall handling of people themselves. Because I think more than the animals, it's also the humans, right? How do you react to a certain dog, and so on and so forth. So as a trainer, I think that's a tremendous thing that you have done. Now, coming back to your second question about what should the trainers do, I think it has to go beyond. So trainers can work with communities. Trainers should come and work with RWS. That's a huge need, because again, what has happened is over these years, and because of the aggression and because of the background that both animal rescuers and people who are not so fond of animals both have, you will see there is a lot of defensiveness from both sides. And see, what's happening is animals are dying. Now, animal rescuers are putting in pressure, saying, people are trying to kill animals, and people who do not have animals or prefer animals, they are saying that the rescuers are trying to take over. Now, what happens is the animal gets abused in the middle. So maybe we need like a mediator, which is where the behaviorist comes in, who can actually help bridge this gap, who can enable the RWAs to sit across the table with the rescuers, tell them the basic steps, guide them in terms of what needs to be done, how can both of them live with each other. Feeding, for example, how much food do you need to feed, what can be the kind of exercise, and that can the dogs help the guards at night for patrolling. So those things can be worked around. And yeah, I mean, I think that's going to go a long way, one. And the second part about, I think the way animals are being trained in itself is kind of changing. And I think you are also, you have a different, you worked on a different technique where you talk about happiness of the animals, the whole conditioning, how it doesn't have to be a stick. So what I've seen from both my personal experience with you, engaging with you, and also officially, right, it is more in terms of show the carrot and make the child happy. So this is what we do in children also, right?
Absolutely.
We don't scream and shout anymore. We need to talk to them nicely and be kind and so on and so forth. I think that's the change that's happening. So the biggest thing here is the animal abuse is massively gone down, right? And the openness of people, and the fact that you involve families in the whole training process, that's very important. So that's, I think, something which is not happening, because earlier what used to happen is एक आएंगे जी ट्रेनर जी, वो कुत्ते को लेंगे, वो 2-3 बार वॉक कराएंगे, उसको सिट स्टैंड कराएंगे, फिर घर में छोड़ जाएंगे, और यही होता रहता था. मतलब आई रिमेम्बर इट फ्रॉम द टाइम व्हेन आई वाज अ किड. अब क्या होता है, फैमिलीज बैठती हैं, फैमिली समझती है डॉग बिहेवियर, फैमिलीज बताती हैं कि जी देखिए हमें को ये ऐसे ट्रीट करता है, क्योंकि डॉग्स ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड कि मैं किस पे भारी पड़ सकता हूँ घर में, किस पे नहीं पड़ सकता हूँ. और सबके साथ डॉग्स अलग होते हैं घर में. फिर आप उनको गाइड करते हैं कि आपको अपने बच्चे के साथ या अपने डॉग के साथ कैसे काम करना है. So I think these changes have happened. It's a very positive thing. Let's hope it becomes better.
Absolutely. On that note, we want to obviously build on the final 2 positive things that I want to talk about as we close. So one is a little more about like a vision. So what is like, when you dream about the Indian dog space or dogs in India, what is this utopia, or what is this future vision that you imagine where you want to see in the next 10 or 20 years? That where do you want us to be as Indian dog lovers or the Indian dog community? What is the best place that you see us in, like in the most positive future, basically?
See, there is something that I read some time back about, there was this, I don't know which country it is, I can't recall, but there were no dogs in the shelter for people to adopt. Right. That's where I want to see, our country. And that has to do with everything working out right. Whether it's sterilization of street dogs, getting the right checks in place, working together as a community. But the ultimate goal is no dog in a shelter. I think that should be our tagline. And once we have that tagline, and everybody works on that, then the only thing that will matter is the dog. So all of this ego will then kind of vanish. So that's what my ultimate goal is.
So that's the kind of mission and vision that we've been building at K9 School, that we are trying to reduce animal abuse and animal abandonment through dog training and dog behavior, modern dog training, dog behavior. And same with K9 Healers, in which you're leading straight from the front, that we are trying to again reduce animal abuse and abandonment through uplifting marginalized societies, rescuing the dogs and finding a purpose for them, and not just a forced adoption home, for example, and closing the ecosystem of adoption. So one final note from you on this, for all the young viewers, young population watching, that what would be your little bit of advice and guidance for people who want to join helping and working for animals as a lucrative profession, whether it's trainers, behavior specialists, communicators, groomers, vets, rescuers, policymakers, because we need more and more people from the educated front. All of this has had people from a very, very different background. I can speak from the trainers front, that when I joined in, we had, like you say, that the doorstep trainers with no background. They would abuse, they would take money and run away. There are still those parasitic tendencies where they find a client and they don't want to train the dog or complete the training so that their money doesn't stop. So we want people graduating from school, from colleges. It's not just about graduating. There are great dropouts. There are people with a clear conscience.
Right.
So what would you advise youngsters from school and college watching this
Right.
to motivate them to join us and to convince them that working with animals can also be as promising as any, conventional profession that you can say.
Right. Right. So I think the biggest thing is that you need to have that passion.
Obviously.
You must love dogs, or you must have the compassion to be around dogs, and you should feel something from the inside when you see an abuse happening. That's one element of it, because only then you will be a good trainer. देखिए पैसा तो आएगा, लेकिन पैसा आपके कैलिबर पे डिपेंड करता है, है ना? तो बट अगर आप में वो दिख जाता है. I mean, if you take me and meet me a person and I can understand the behavior of the person with the dog, I will tell you immediately whether that person has a dog, has ever had a dog, or has never had a dog.
Right. Or are they good with dogs or not?
वो दिख जाता है ना? वो आप उनके पैर ही पीछे हो जाएंगे, थोड़ा सा बॉडी चेंज, थोड़ा स्टिफ हो जाएगी. तो अगर आपको किसी भी प्रोफेशन में घुसना है या किसी भी काम में घुसना है इन रिलेटेड टू डॉग्स, देयर इज इमेंस अपॉर्चुनिटी. मतलब in India, I think we are the second largest, I mean we are the biggest in the world in terms of population. और अगर आप हमारे एवरेज लगा लेंगे तो ऑलमोस्ट हर तीसरे घर में एक कुत्ता है. तो हमारे पास डॉग्स भी बहुत हैं, तो हमारे पास अपॉर्चुनिटी भी बहुत है. बहुत बेसिक सी बात है. अब आप क्या बनना चाहते हैं, आपको किस में मज़ा आता है, वो आपको ही पता है, वो और कोई नहीं बता सकता. लेकिन जो आप काम करेंगे ना, फिर आप शिद्दत से करिएगा. फिर आप ये मत करिएगा कि आपने आज ट्रेनिंग करी और आप कहेंगे जी कल मैं अच्छा 50,000 कमाऊंगा, क्योंकि वो होता नहीं है. मेरे घर के आसपास डॉग ट्रेनर्स हैं जो 1-1 लाख रुपए कमाते हैं. तो कमाना है कमाइए, लेकिन आपको मेहनत, यू विल हैव टू प्रूव योरसेल्फ, एंड दैट माइट टेक 2 years 3 years. I mean, you have taken what good 10-11 years to prove yourself, and look at where you are right now. But it's a journey. It didn't happen overnight. So one is you have to work hard. You will have to put in the same kind of effort that you would put in a corporate, probably more, because you're dealing with animals. You have to love and like what you're doing. And the third is just put your head down and do the job, because always remember, it is always for the dog. So it's never for the uncle next door, what would my parents say, what would my neighbor say, वो शर्मा आंटी के बेटे का MBA कर लिया तो मैं कुत्ता ट्रेनिंग करूँगा. वो सब सोचते हैं कि शर्मा जी का अंकल का बेटा हमेशा फिर वो किसी के साथ डॉक्टर ही बना रहेंगे. हाँ. लेकिन अगर आप MBA क्या कुछ भी करके अगर आपने कुछ भी कर लिया और आप उसमें प्रोफिशिएंट हो गए, तो आप अपना नाम खुद ही बना सकते हैं. यू डोंट हैव टू डिपेंड ऑन somebody else to create a name for yourself.
Absolutely.
So that is what I would say. Work hard, keep your head down, put your ego on the side, always think of the dog first, no matter what, no matter how much issues you face, and do not ever compare yourself to anybody else, and just let magic happen, and do not run behind money. It will come. So I think that's what I'll say.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vidhi, for taking out the time. And I know we took it out from a very, very busy period right before Diwali, and we were like, and it was short notice as well, and we were begging you and really appreciate you coming all the way for this. And, all of this has been a very, very insightful contribution.
So that wraps up our episode for today. Tell us in the comments how you like the conversations, what parts you agree and disagree with. Also, let us know who would you like as the next guest for our podcast. Please subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any videos. Make sure you like and share this with your friends so that it increases our algorithm and helps us in producing content more and more. Hope you keep watching. See you again.